good evening, everybody. My name's Croz Crossley, and for the last 30 years, I have been teaching people how powerful they are just by changing their thoughts and their mindset. Now, when I first started on this adventure, at the age of about 40, I lost everything. And I don't mean everything, I mean everything. So I was in such a place. I've been a very successful business person at large companies and different things that we'd done through our life. And the funny thing was that there seemed to be a little bit of stardust. All the time things were going well, things were going well. But when it crashed, I couldn't make anything work. I was just going down and down and down, and the voices in my head were speaking enough. I just couldn't work it out. I just could not start things again. And so I decided to go on a journey. And basically, I'd seen a lot of stuff. I read a book called The Science of Getting Rich, and I'd studied all the people that were around at the time, gone back to the 1920s and studied Emerson and Wattles and all the other people, Napoleon Hill. And I just thought, I wonder if there's anything in it. So my journey really, don't tell anybody, was to prove it all wrong. But I made a bit of a pledge to myself, and I said, if I'm going to say it doesn't work, I must do the right thing and do exactly as I'm told. Because if I don't, it's going to be immoral of me to say it doesn't work. Well, believe it or not, the more I tried to prove it wrong, the more I started proving it right. And there's a wonderful story from Plato. And he tells the story of the slaves that are all chained up in a cave. And they're all chained looking at a wall. And there's a fire. And walking between the fire and the wall are people with cutouts of trees, animals, and what have you. So the people have been locked in this cave all their life, and all they've ever seen is the shadow of a tree, the shadow of an animal. So that's their belief. And then one day, one of the slaves slips the chains and he runs to the edge of the cave and he goes out. Lovely, the fresh air. And he looks and he says, how long's all this been going on? A real tree, a real animal. It was wonderful. He couldn't wait to get back and tell everybody. And when he got back there, he had so much trouble telling them what he'd seen, because they didn't believe him, because all they knew was a tree was that flickery shadow on the wall. An animal was that flickery shadow on the wall. So when he was trying to tell them the truth, they didn't believe him. So I'm telling you now, I'm the slave that slipped the chain, and I've been to the edge of the cave, and I've come back to tell you what I've seen. Okay, now I've been doing this for 30 odd years, and I'm a little bit off the wall. I don't use sort of notes or anything. Everything just flows in, so we go a little bit random possibly, but I've got me board here in case we need to do a few sketches, a few drawings. But what I'm about to tell you, and I actually once spoke at the Royal College of Surgeons, because I use my own way of explaining things. And one of them come up to me afterwards. She said, that's the biggest load of rubbish I've ever heard, but you explained it so succinctly. So it may not be technically correct, because, you know, I studied quantum physics for 6 months, and that was the worst 6 months of my life, right? So I don't worry about all that. Trust me, I've got this information down to such a point. It's so simple, you can't not understand it. So I'm going to start off by explaining something simple. Now, let me just make sure which bit, that's it, right? Okay. So we heard Nambila talk about the conscious and the subconscious mind. Now, we're programmed from a very, very early age. And every single person watching this, watching it in the future, or whenever you see it, every single person has been programmed differently. Okay, we've all got our own unique program, so we all actually see things differently. That's why people who witness accidents, their prejudices and all that come into their statements. So the police say all these people have seen the same accident, but they've all got a different version of what happened based on what they are thinking or what their prejudices are, right? So we're all programmed differently. But very, very quickly, the influences in our life. We've got mum and dad. His dad with a big smile. We put mum, she's frowning a little bit because she's the one who's had to look after you. So we've got mum and dad, and they are a great influence on us. They don't do anything. None of the people that program us are actually doing it to harm us, right? They're doing it because we're programmed not to do things. Strange, but true. Our natural thing is to go exploring and not even be fearful of danger, just accept it as part of the process. I mean, when you learn to walk, you fall over, but mum will try and stop you falling over. But that's the greatest way to learn, is to fall over. And by the time you banged your head a few times, just hang on a minute, there must be a better way of walking than this, keep falling over. So you've got mum and dad. Then you get on to the teacher at school, and he's got a big smile on his face because he's upset a few people in his time. Because one of the greatest things that you can have to make this work is an ability to daydream, an ability to think of what you want and allow yourself to accept it and believe what you want. Now, when we're children, we don't have any trouble doing that because that's our brain working correctly. We don't have any trouble at all imagining things. When we're sort of a cowboy, we're not actually sitting on the sofa at home on the arm of the sofa. We're actually in the desert riding that horse and the dust is flying about. We're there, okay? But as we're programmed, let's say you're sitting in class daydreaming and the teacher comes along behind you, clips you. Well, you can't do that now, but in the old days you could get a little clip round the ear for daydreaming in class. Now, daydreaming is one of the best things to have the ability to do, but you've been told it's wrong. And then you go on and you meet a few other people in your life. You meet the guy at the pub, we call him Bill at the pub. He's the bloke at the pub that knows everything, right? But he's had a little go at programming you. We've got If It Were Me. He's the bloke that knows everything as well, and he's telling you that if he was him, he'd do it this way or that way, okay? And then we got a newcomer to the thing, Dad's sister, Auntie Lil. She's the one where you sat on her lap when you were about 15 and she says, what are you going to do? I'm going to open my own business. What? Open your own business? Are you mad? I was talking to Bill at the pub the other day who knows someone who's got a friend who knows someone that opened a business and they went skint, right? Good bit of programming. So all of a sudden, all this comes into play and you can make up your own mind who these people are. Right, but we've all got them. They've all programmed us not to do any harm, but to not do things, because the thing is, if you don't do anything, you can't make a mistake, right? You can't fail, but failure is the stepping stone to success. So if you're going to fail, my advice to you is fail quick, right? And then you learn the lessons a lot quicker. So talking about this, we are programmed, okay? Now, we were originally programmed absolutely perfectly for success, right? But all these people and all what's gone on in our life has squeezed it out. But there's a little bit left here that I call the play area. And it's the only bit left that really is still working, the play area. So when do we get into the play area? Well, when we go on holiday, you know, when we go on holiday, we look at a brochure, okay, and we pick where well, you do it online now, but we look at a brochure and we say, right, that's where I'm going, somewhere nice with palm trees and what have you. And you say, I'm going on holiday. Now, immediately we put our deposit down on that holiday. Where does our mind go? It wanders to the holiday. So even if it's 6 months away, you can get enjoyment from it. Okay, could remember this because this is important later. You get enjoyment from it. And when things go a little bit wrong, say, I'll be all right because I'll be lying on the beach in a bit. And when we're thinking about our holiday, do we ever imagine it pouring with rain? No. Do we imagine anything going wrong? No. We look at our holiday and we imagine everything going right. But when we imagine into the future in our life, we go, oh, what if it rains? What if I stub my toe and fall over and I get taken to A&E and I miss the rest of the holiday? All these things we work out. It's marvellous, isn't it? But anyway, so we get on holiday, get on the plane and we fly over to our holiday destination, get off the plane, and as we go through the door, there's nothing like it, is it? The smell of the holiday. You're in the Mediterranean, totally different. Those balmy evenings, you think, I'm here, lovely. Go to bed in the hotel, and the next day you get up, put something nice and relaxing on, and you walk down the street, and what do you notice? Hang on, what's going on here? There's people smiling. What's all that about? Because where I come from, everyone's growling, especially now with COVID, but they're all growling. You can't even see what they're doing now with their masks on, but everyone's growling. But when you're on holiday, people are smiling. What are they doing? They're getting into the play area because all the rubbish they've left at home. And psychologically, they've left all the baggage at home and they're now left it at home and they're in the play area. And then what happens? You go along and you find a little lounger by the pool and you lie down. Lovely gin and tonic. And you have a lovely drink. And what happens? Your mind is now working perfectly. And all them problems at home, you've got a solution. That's not a problem. I'll be able to solve that out. And you get all the ideas. You think I'll do that. I think I'll open another thing there and I'll do this. And all those things that you're imagining, and they're all possible while you're in the play area. They're all possible. So my advice to you, next time you get on holiday, if they ever get a plane in the air again, but next time you get away, take a notebook, because every single thing that you think when you're in the play area is possible. And as long as you've got faith and belief, you can make it happen. But here's what happens. So you're Ed, you've done it, you're back on the plane, sitting there. Might have another gin and tonic, actually. Have another gin and tonic, sitting there lovely on the way back. And you think, oh, shit, I wish I'd booked another week. I enjoyed that. That was lovely. And you're flying along like that. And as you get nearer to Heathrow, you're flying, you come into land, ping! Oh, I wonder if they fed the cat. Ping! Something else jumps in. So you see, where you've relaxed yourself totally, you're now coming back and all the problems that you had before you left are all jumping in. And by the time you get home, you might as well have not have gone, because you're back exactly where you are. So the thing to do is pay attention and find out how to get into the play area by just thinking, and get yourself into the play area. And depending how it goes in time, because I say it ain't scripted or nothing, we just go on, right? So here we go. Making sense so far, anyone? Give me a nod. Lovely. Right. So as I just said, we're all programmed differently. But for the sake of this exercise, I'm going to call your unique program A, right? So your unique program is A, and that is now being formed by all what you've learned in the past. Okay, so A. So you get a thought in, and it goes via all these people that haven't meant you any harm, but none of them are highly qualified for giving you much information. And it comes out here, and guess what comes out here? An A thought goes in, goes all the way through here, and an A thought comes out. So you are stuck. And unfortunately, where you are now is where you're going to stay unless you take on some new information. and start putting some new information in here and trying to cancel a few of these voices, right? And everyone's got the different ones. And someone asked me the other day, they said, do you really believe there's voices in your head? I said, yeah, I think they shrink your mum and dad and they put them in your head and they shrink Bill up the pub. Of course I don't believe the bloody voices, but they're there. That is what is making your decisions for you. And unless you rapidly change something, you are stuck where you are. There's a thermostat in your head and you keep banging it like how they used to train fleas. You know where they used to train them for the flea circus? They used to put a bit of glass atop. A lot of you don't remember what a flea circus is, but that was used to be a thing when they trained little fleas to perform acts. So to stop them jumping away, they put a bit of glass over the box. So every time they jump, they bang their head, right? That's where the glass ceiling comes from, see? They kept banging their head. So eventually you could take the glass ceiling away and they wouldn't jump no higher. And that's where you are all now. Because every time you jump, you bang your bloody head because these people are taking control of your thoughts, right? So what do? B is success. I'm telling you 100% that B is the formula for success. Who wants to know what B is? Right, one or two nods there. B is the formula for success. So I tell you, right? I tell you exactly what the formula for success is. After 30 years looking at it, it can never fail. Here's the formula for success. So B goes in. Follow this. Then it goes through all this here. And guess what comes out? A. A. So you've been told 100% that the information will change your life, guaranteed, but you take it in and it comes out because your programming is preventing you from taking on the information. So to get any further in life, you have now got to start quietening all these voices down. Making sense so far? Right. So A and B programming. Right. So the unfortunate thing is when all this starts, when you start changing the programming, and I name all these things myself because it makes it easier when you try to understand them. But I call it transitional disruption. I'll write that down here if I can remember how to spell it. Disruption. Transitional disruption. What's that? Well, what happens is once you change things, there's going to be disruption. Okay, so you're going to go along and think, oh, everything's going wrong. What's happening here? Right now, this is what your brain's doing at the moment because you've took on the new information and your brain's doing this. Right? Nothing. It's making no sense because you've changed everything. And what is nice and comfortable up in your subconscious mind at the moment, it's all been disrupted because you've quietened down, you've changed a few things, and this is what's happening. Okay. Now, I used to sort of do it when I used to renovate properties. And you go in there and you sort of like work out what you're going to do. And then you smash all the walls down and someone comes around and goes, what on earth are you doing here? Right? I'll say, well, I'm going to put a kitchen there, little nice lounge there. And they go, they can't see it, but I can. And the only reason that I don't see rubble that gets me through is because I can see the finished object. I can see the finished building. So what do? You've got to know where you're going. I call it the clear mental image, or Wallace Wattles did in The Science of Getting Rich. The clear mental image. That is where you're heading, right? Because you've made all these adjustments, right? And you're finding a place where you want to go. So however disruptive it gets in here, right? The only way out is by knowing exactly where you're going. So if you don't know where you're going and you can fix your compass to that, don't start changing things, because you'll end up in turmoil all the time. You've got to have that clarity of where you're going. Provided you know where you're going, you'll get through. You see, but a lot of people, they mix up destination and direction, two different things. A destination is a fixed place, right, where you're going. It's a set point on the compass. But a direction, this is what you're doing here. And this is why people get confused, because they think that they're always heading to the destination, but all they're doing is taking this direction, and they believe that the direction is the destination. So until such time as you get clarity here, you're just going to keep going round and round and round in disruption. So that will happen. So be aware of it. All right. So when we start working out what we're going to do, we've got to make sure that we work on the right bit. Okay. Because there's an old story about a guy where a woman moves in to a flat on the 44th floor of a skyscraper, and she rings the builder and she said, "I've got the walls cracking in the flat. Can you come and have a look at it?" And he goes upstairs and he has a look at it and he shoots off down. She said, "Oi, where are you going?" He said, "Down to the basement." She said, "What are you doing down there? The crack's up here." Ah, he said, "The crack's up there, but the problem's in the basement." Right? And that's what we tend to do in our life. We're trying to patch up the crack on the 44th floor and we're ignoring the existing problem. Make sense? So you've got to make sure that you're actually working on the right bit. Okay? So then also, this journey is about a live demonstration. Look at this, no slides or nothing. Look, and it's all this live stuff. This is old vaudeville. We are building awareness. Now, all your problems, pay attention to this because this is very, very vivid. All your problems, all your anxiety, all your stress, every single thing that's going wrong in your life is that water, right? But this glass is your awareness. Now, if I spin that glass as hard as I can, what's going to happen? That water is going to spin everywhere because you can't contain it in the awareness that you've got now. So what we want to do is just build a bigger container. This journey is all about awareness. And the more aware you become, the more control you've got over all these problems. Does that make sense? Right? So we're not looking for anything else other than awareness, because if this glass was 10 times the size and I could spin that water as much as I like, it might get a little bit rocky, but I'd be in control. Right? So what we're looking to do, guys, is build a bigger container. How long have I got? Where am I now? How long have I got? Because I need to get on to the special bit before the end. How long have we got? Elaine, I can't hear you, darling. Just give me an idea, because got to make sure I give you the formula for success, otherwise I'll get told off.
You're fine, you've got another 10, 15 minutes.
All right, lovely. Okay.
20
Okay.
minutes.
Sorry?
Got about 20 minutes left, you're fine.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh,
that's good.
cool. Lovely. Right. So we're now looking for awareness, and that comes in all different ways. Okay. But the biggest problem that we have looking for our awareness, and when you see, the thing is, in life, we're on a journey, and whether it's a business, whether it's life or anything, we always try and skip the steps. All right. Now, it don't make any sense, because how many times have you stood at the bottom of the stairs and said, "Here, I'll tell you what I think I'll do. I'll try and get up there in one hit." Who's ever stood there and tried to get to the top of the stairs in one jump? You wouldn't do it, would you? And yet in life, we look at someone up here with being successful, and we're down here and we want to get up there in one jump. Well, that ain't never going to happen. So be realistic and don't try and skip the steps, because these steps are your security for the future. Now, I told you that I had a bit of trouble when I was like 40 odd. I went skint, lost a huge company, had 250 staff and all the bits and pieces. And through a devious means, I lost it, right? Now, let's just say this is the guy that nicked the company, right? So he's been catapulted up here in one jump, right? Not natural, is it? So he's up here and he hasn't been up the steps. Well, things started going a bit dodgy and he fell down here like that, right? Now, he'd never been on this step before, had he? So if he's never been on that step before, the odds of him getting back up there are remote. So what happened? Because he hadn't been up the steps, he went boing, 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 right back to the bottom, because he hadn't done the journey. Now, the thing is, in life, one of the things of the we're going to talk about in a minute because I've got time. One of the things about the success formula is that you must make where you are where you want to be. So don't be in a rush, right? When you get on this step, enjoy it. Enjoy it. Make it a place that you want to be, right? And you don't need anyone to tell you. The next step is a natural move, right? The next step, there's no need, don't keep trying to skip them and rush it. So eventually you will get here. We're going to call this the CMI again up the top there, right? Eventually you are going to arrive at the top. No problem. Providing you follow the formula that I'm going to give you in a minute, there ain't no way known you can't get here. All right. The only thing that can do it is we've got a thing called your dominant thought, right? Which is the biggest problem with all this, really. It's your dominant thought, because we all think that we're thinking the right thoughts, but we're not, because everything's based on what our true belief is. So your superficial thoughts coming from here, but your dominant thought is coming from a deeper place. And unless you can get control, because how many times have you said, oh yeah, I'll do that, but you don't really believe that you can do it? That's your dominant thought. So what result are you going to get? You think that you're thinking the right thoughts. I can do that, but your dominant thought's going, no. So we got to control all that. So what we're going to do now, I'm going to show you, this is guaranteed 100% cannot fail science of success formula, written by me, based on 30 years trying to prove everything wrong. Who's interested? The first thing we got to do is create a clear mental image of where we're going. Because sometimes I go out to people and they go, oh, I'm lost. And I said, well, where are you going? I said, well, I don't know. I said, well, how can you be lost if you don't know where you're going, right? So we need a destination. We need a clear mental image of where we're going. Now, I don't want you to put money in that image, because money, the problem is the way things are at the moment. If you go and put a figure of 100 grand in here, by the time you get it, be worth about threepence, won't even buy a cup of tea. So what you got to do, don't put money in your clear mental image. Put what you're going to do with the money. So write it in the first person, possibly 5 years' time. Now, this is only to stop you stressing, because if I said do it and you got to get it by tomorrow, you'll all turn jelly. So put it in the distance and make it what you want, not what you think you can get, because you've got everything you can get with what you've got up here at the moment. You've got it. Unfortunately, I'm telling you, that's it. You have got what you can get with what you've got up here. So once you change what you've got up here, everything changes. So clear mental image, don't put money in it. And I'm speeding up a little bit, but if you want to get really deep on this, I've got a workshop on the 26th of August, but make that as clear as possible in the first person. Cool, I'm so glad we moved here to Brighton. I'll fit you in there, you see, so but move to Brighton. It's lovely. I love getting up in the morning and having a little walk on the beach, and I'm enjoying this, and I'm right. So make it like that and put it in the first person, so it's so clear. You can feel everything, okay? And then you make where you are, where you want to be. Because 90% of the people that I bump into are living up here, saying, when I get here, when that happens, when this happens, I will be happy. Rubbish. That ain't never, ever going to happen. Because I'll tell you a little secret. The feeling creates the result. The result never creates the feeling. And people say, oh, but if I had a bill to pay and I was worried and someone gave me the money, that would make me happy. Yeah, for 5 minutes. But it ain't deep happiness. It's not real happiness. So the truth is that every time that you put off doing something now, with a chance of doing it in the future, you've lost it. So concentrate on making where you are, where you want to be, and have a good little think about it. And if there's something that you don't like about where you are, change it. Just have a good look and make where you are, where you want to be, so that you're happy with all that you've got. Make yourself happy where you are. Don't keep saying I'm going to be happy in the future, because it doesn't happen, guys. And I've been looking for it to happen, and for people that can tell me that happens for a long, long time. Don't waste your time. Just, you've got control over now. Use now as your yardstick. Make yourself happy now. Then we got the old demon, the past. We all drag around the past with us, don't we? And most people use this as the reason for things going wrong here. And the reasons that things are going wrong here, they can then say that's why they can't get here. Right? It's all linked. They say, how are you getting on, mate? Oh, well, it would have been all right, but if it weren't for that divorce. Well, what happened there? Oh, it was unfair. I lost the house and I lost this. Oh, when was that? Oh, about 10 years ago. What? 10 years ago? And you're still dragging it around with you, using it as an excuse for things going wrong now? Are you joking? Right? So I want you to visit the past. And if it's a person that's done the wrong thing by you, long story for another day, but the guy that took my business and all that, I had to forgive him, and that's a good long story, right? But I did it because that was holding me back. I kept, everyone comes saying, how's it going, Croz? Oh, all right, but it would have been all right, but that bloke nicked my business and all that. No one cares. No one cares. It's only keeping you down. It ain't affecting nobody else. It's just you. So get rid of all the rubbish in the past, right? Every single thing in the past that's worrying you, and just visit the past for the things that you have learned. So go to the past, get rid of all the rubbish out of your head, but bring the things that you've learned, right? Which will be many, and they will then assist you to make where you are, where you want to be. Right, and I've got to speed up a little bit here, but people ask me, how does it happen, Croz? And I have to be honest, I ain't got a bloody clue, but I do know one thing. If you know where you're going, you will know how to take the first step. And that's all we're worried about. That's all we're interested in at the moment. You'll have the first step. And guess where it will be heading? To the destination, right? So, because we know where we're going, if we come off track, right, where I should think this is where a lot of you are now, spinning around, ain't got a clue where you're bloody going, right? Don't matter. So any road will do, won't it? Any road. Could be a dead end, a motorway, anything. Because you don't know where you're going, any road will do. But when you do know where you're going, right, guess what? You can go off track, which is life, ups and downs, but you can get back on track. And whatever happens to you, providing that you keep this image in your head of where you're heading, the universe will conspire to get you there, because it's just a series of vibrations. And was it Nambila? I forgot how to say it. Nambila said earlier, every single vibration is connected. Now, if you wake up in the morning, as she said earlier, and you don't feel too good, you ain't going to attract no good. Nothing. Because there's no way that when you're feeling down here, you're going to attract a good vibration. Okay? That's as simple as I can make it. Right? And the vibration, it's so easy to explain it now because we've got all these things. Look at us here now. This is all being done with vibration. Right? Me talking to you all over the country with a vibration. Right? But it's only hitting exactly to a vibration that it resonates with. So when you feel low, you got to change how you feel pretty sharpish. And that's all you've got to do, because the feeling creates the result. It never, ever works the other way. But we have all been taught that when I get there, I'll be happy. When this happens, rubbish, rubbish. Trust me, complete and utter rubbish. You might get temporary satisfaction and gratification if someone gives you a few quid, but look at all the people that win the pools, right? Most of them end up skint up for 3 or 4 years because they ain't got no idea how to spend the money, but they thought money was going to be the solution. It's not. Control now. Take control of now. It's the only thing you've got any control over. And the lovely thing about this as well, who's ever said, I wish I'd been in the right place at the right time? Who's ever said that to themselves? I wish I'd been in the right place at the right time. We all do, don't we? Oh, I missed that one. Oh, Bitcoin. I could have bought Bitcoin at 2000, but I missed it. I wish I'd have been in the right place at the right time. So with this, right, opportunities are always there. They only make sense when they're relevant to your journey. Okay? They're always there. If you want to open a shop and you need an empty shop, which there will be plenty of, don't worry if you need an empty shop, there'll be plenty around, don't worry about that, right? If you need an empty shop and you drive down the road, you will not stop seeing empty shops, right? That is your reticular activating system going on the hunt. Oh, he needs a shop, find them all the shops. You buy a yellow car, you don't stop seeing yellow cars. It's all done. They don't need any help. Our mind, once you've got it all programmed properly, it does everything for you. Everything. But the thing is, we've all got the wrong program. So if I go down the high street and I don't need a shop, how many shops will I see? I see all of them. And everyone, I'll bet 1 or 2 of you said, I'll see none, didn't you? I will. I'll see every one of them. But I won't resonate because I don't need one. So instead of collecting armfuls of rubbish on our journey, which we do, don't we? Who's got a loft? Who's got a mug with no handle on up there, just in case you need a mug with no handle at any time? Possibly you put a paintbrush in or something. We collect rubbish because of what might happen. It's not an opportunity, it's not needed. So this is a self-filtering system, okay? Whereby every single thing in life makes sense. Go along, see something. Is it relevant to my journey here? Yes, cop for it. Is it relevant? Not relevant? Get rid of it. Don't get it. So it's a self-filtering system because opportunities are always there. We see things as opportunities because our minds are all muddled, which aren't really opportunities. Okay. So that's basically it. After 30 years of trying to prove this wrong, I can tell you with my hand on my heart, and this sounds simple, but it's the hardest thing you'll ever have to do applying it, because you know what? Aunt Hillel will get in, your mum and dad will get in, Bill up the pub will get in, and they'll all try and hold you down. They're all dream stealers, but they don't mean you no harm, but they don't want you to try and get anywhere in case you fail. All right? But these are the stepping stones. Failure, okay? All you got to do is make sure you're clear about that and live that now. Same as you did. This is your holiday, right? Remember we spoke about the holiday earlier and how we could look at it and enjoy it now, right? But what most people do is they get this vision and they start saying, oh, how on earth will that happen? Or what if this happens, right? When it's real to us, we put hurdles in the way. And one of the secrets of this is don't worry. You notice my little thing when I turn my camera off. Deal in real, because you will be given the tools and equipment to cover and conquer any problem. And the closer you get to a problem, the smaller it gets. But the thing is, the problem is always the biggest when it's in your mind. Have I got 5 minutes? Because this is all random. I ain't got a clue what I'm talking about, really. But if I got 5 minutes, I'll just show you something interesting.
You can be random for 5 minutes.
Have I got 5?
We'll let you be random for 5 minutes.
Right, okay. It's all been random. Right, so listen, this is a good little thing to learn. As I say, this is like the old brain surgeons and all that, when they listen, they have a little laugh of it, but they said it's so succinctly told them, right? Your mind, your brain will only work properly and give you an answer if it's got 100% of the data. Not if, not maybe, not possibly, 100%. Now, what happens is we have a thought, right? And we have a thought, and then all of a sudden, we only know 80%. So what we do is we start this other 20%, that's what if. Oh, if that happens, what will I do? Oh, this happens, what will I do? So it's not real. It's all in your head, right? That is your stress. Look at this for one, look. Your stress, anxiety, and depression. Look what that spells. Sad. Isn't it funny? We've got control over everything, provided that we learn not to start solving things that don't exist, right? And that's what we do all the time. If you think about it, your stress is trying to solve things that don't exist. Your brain will only give you an answer if you feed it 100% of the data. So next time that you're stressed, bring it back to a point where you know the answer. I'm going to open a business. That's the brain don't have any problem with that at all. What it has problems with, oh God, where will I find the money fund it? Oh God, where will I do this? Where will I do that? Right? Makes sense? The actual thing, I am going to open a business, ain't causing you any problems at all. It's you putting all this rubbish in that's causing the problem, and they don't exist. Trust me, every single hurdle that you encounter in your life, when it's real, you'll be given the ability to deal with it. The amount of times you read about people that get an amazing amount of strength when a car is on a child, they go and pick it up. They couldn't possibly do it in their things. They're given the tools and equipment, that sort of focusing of the energy to do it, right? So when something's real, the universe will give you everything you need to deal with it. The universe cannot help you solving something that don't exist, right? When you are trying to solve something that doesn't exist, do yourself a favor. I wrote this 25 years, maybe longer, 25 years ago. Ask yourself 2 questions. Number 1, have I done everything I can? First question. And the second question, I only put this in because I thought some people might cheat. Is there anything else I can do? 2 questions. And people from over 20 years ago still ring me up and say, Croz, that has got me out of so much trouble. Because if you answer yes and no to those 2 questions, I give you permission to not think and worry about this here, because that don't exist. Because if you could do something about it and you haven't, you're a bloody idiot. So once you ask the 2 questions, you can stop worrying about things that don't exist. All right. So that's about it, really. But in summary, know where you're going, create a clear mental image, make where you are, where you want to be, get rid of all the rubbish in the past, and you cannot fail to be successful. Just get rid of all them voices that are trying to hold you back. Thanks very much.
Thank you very much, Croz. And yes, you're totally right. Them voices make a massive impact on us, don't they? So we've had a couple of comments. Teresa said, keep going. She's finding it really interesting. She really enjoyed.
Tell her to come to the workshop next week.
Yes, she really enjoyed it. So, and we all did. So I took some notes and took some information. So, let me just have a look. What did I write? I wrote, I love the deal in the real. I think that is something that I will probably take on board. And I've, like I said, I've just moved into a different office space, so I'm filling the wall with different quotes, and I really like that. And I think that can also be transferred to like kids and things.
I'll send you a copy of that. Look,
excellent.
Croz original, that one, deal in real.
Real.
Thing
we'll
is,
love that.
That is everything simple, nothing complicated with me.
Exactly. And I liked when you held the glass up, I thought, he's going to ask you for a glass half full, people. But I loved how you did that, because you just got to make your reality bigger to contain.
That's it. Your awareness. It's all about your awareness.
Totally.
Like, you can look at a book. How many times have you seen a film and you think, that's the biggest load of rubbish I've ever seen? But everyone's going, oh, I want it a great movie. That's your awareness at the time, where your head is at the time. You go and see it 2 years later, oh, bloody hell, what a marvellous film. So that's what I said earlier, we're all programmed differently, right? And what our programming determines what we see. But in our infancy, see, what we're aiming to do here, guys, is go back, because it's the play area, that used to be your whole brain till we buggered it up, right? So what we're trying to do, it's that innocence. The two greatest things you can have, anyone in business, trust me, is innocence and ignorance. They're the greatest thing. And you see any success story, a decision had been made in ignorance and catapulted them up, and innocence, right? Two greatest things, because we don't complicate things. If you become back to a childlike state, the innocence of youth, and I sit on the board of a few companies, right? And I said the other day, I said, you know what, guys, this is so complicated. We might have to get a 7-year-old to sort this one out, right? And that's true, because they don't complicate things with all this up here, do they? Right?
Exactly.
Carry on, Elaine. Sorry.
And yeah, that is so right, because we do have, if we work with how we're meant to be as children, it's to explore the world and to question, but find his own answers. And unfortunately, like you say, we get that all in there. And I mean, my mum's been past 5 years now, and I still get a little voice in my head going, oh no, Elaine, oh, last one big joke to you. Yeah, yeah. I still get that now.
But it's all a game.
Yeah.
And the best you can make it on the way through. So I tell all my clients, all my business clients, it's only a game. The easiest thing to get out of business is money, and everyone makes it the hardest.
Yeah.
You ask any of my clients, they all sit there, they laugh. They got a big pile of bleeding money. Yeah. When I meet them, they're like, oh, how am I going to pay the bills? So don't worry about that. We make a process, just keep repeating the process. That's all business is about. Ain't got nothing to do with money. Find a process that gets someone to part with their money, and you don't have to worry about it no more. You just keep repeating the process.
Exactly.
Simple. Don't complicate things.
Totally.
That's all up here. Complications. Life ain't complicated.
Yeah. It reminds me of my favourite, one of my favourite quotes, Winnie the Pooh quote. And he's walking through the woods with Piglet, and Piglet says, supposing a tree were to fall upon us. And Winnie the Pooh says, supposing it doesn't. Yes. And it's just having that ability to see the total opposite and remove from the worry.
I'm talking to a client today, and I said, well, what's your actual worry then? He said, well, if I can't, you know, if I don't get enough work in. I said, well, hang on a minute. What are you going to do if you get too much work? Because that's a bigger problem than not having enough, to believe it. But you ain't even thought about it. And yet in reality, it's a bigger problem than not having enough work. But we don't think it.
No.
We don't think it. And every single thing, as Amelia, Ambelia, right, said earlier, right? You're in control of what's going on up here. You are in total control. And there's another thing, if anyone wants a daily message from me, a lunatic like me, every day to get you going, I've got a thing, a bot, that comes out 2 minutes every day, bunny, just to get you ready for the day. Every day they come out, free of charge, no lists or nothing like that. Just get them, because all I want to do before I sort of leave this earth is to tell as many people as possible how simple life really is. Look at me, 72 years old. I'm back in rock and roll. I'm working with a finger from a band, a guy from a band. Teacher, he wants to learn how to speak and do it. Right, back in rock and roll, he wants me to go on stage with him when he does his talks. Right, 72 years old, most of them in a wheelchair with dribbling like that and going to push themselves around like that. I think I'm still 18.
And why not?
That's it. It ain't hard. I'm telling you, life ain't hard. It's only as hard as you want to make it.
Exactly. And I think we'll leave it there on that quote. Life is not hard. It's only as hard as you want to make it.